today. So how do our societies look at the youth in relation to politics or political aspect? How are we viewed as the youth politically? Eh?
Social activists.
So they look at us as social activists. What else? Political perspective at looking at young people and the society. How do the society look at young people? Young people in politics. So do we have young people in politics?
Yes.
Active politics or just passive ones? So what do we benefit from having those people? Do we, or what are the benefits of having youth participating in politics? They promote development, or they can promote. They promote or they can promote development. They do. They can promote. They try. Someone was like, it's funny sometimes when you see an old person be a minister of youth and development, you'll be like, don't we have young people? Who is going to represent us as youth? Eh? Also, the issue is experience. You know, what if the dynamic, like the change that is happening, those things change. Things that they experienced and what we are experiencing now. For example, the youth of the past, it was not easy, for example, to find a job. Eh? What about us, the way it is like these days? So can they really represent us?
Yes.
Unless if they do needs assessment, they do some assessments and check the needs of the youth. But I believe if the youth are there and speak on behalf of the fellow youth, it can be better. So the political perspective of youth in society is complex and dynamic subject influenced by social, economic, and cultural conditions. It is also influenced by social, economic, and cultural conditions. They can be a creative force, a dynamic source of innovations, and they have undoubtedly throughout participated, history contributed, and even characterized important changes in political systems, power sharing dynamics, and economic opportunities. So, as the youth, we have a very big role to play, more especially if the power is shared, because as the youth, they also need to be in power positions so that they can influence policy. Because we have issues as youth that needs someone to advocate for such issues. However, youth also face different problems like the issues of poverty, unemployment, barriers to education, discrimination. I think we already discussed the major issues or major problems faced by the youth. Youth are faced with a lot of challenges. You have access to school, you will struggle to find a job. You have a job, maybe you have some mental issues if you are not helped. So there are a lot of issues problems faced by the youth in our societies. So opportunities for youth to engage in governance and participate in political and decision-making process depends largely on the political, socio-economic, and cultural contexts, where social norms in many parts of the world result in multiple forms of discrimination against young women. Opportunities for youth to engage in governance and political governance, participate in political decisions or decision-making processes is very necessary. We need to take part in decision-making processes. So if the youth are to take part in decision-making processes, it means they are engaged in some form of power, or they are in a certain position. You are in a certain position. That's why we need the youth to also take part in political activities, because they can be a spokesperson for the rest of the youth. If we have issues, they'll be there. If maybe we face some some form of discrimination, more especially women, sometimes face a lot of discrimination. So if the youth, they also need to take some bigger positions to be involved in decision-making processes. So there is a strong evidence that participation of young people in formal institutional political processes is relatively low when compared to other citizens across the globe. Participation of young people in formal institutional political processes. Only a few are involved in political activities, unlike the old people across the globe. So even if we look at our own in our own case as Malawians, you find only a few people take part in politics. I think now maybe we are having a rise of young people taking part in politics because they just want some favors. Because we have seen people actively participating in politics, but just for them that one day they can be connected and get a job. But in real sense, most of them, they may not be real politicians, but they just want some connections. So the focus of youth in terms of their engagement in the political arena is a relatively new priority, but extremely timely, particularly in light of recent events and democratic transitions in different parts of the world. The engagement of the youth in politics currently is a new priority. We want a lot of youth to be taking part in politics, in the political activities. Because we can influence, as I said, we can influence policy, we can influence decisions if we take part. Because even as we are here, we can try to come up with some very good decisions. But where do we take them to? Nowhere. Yeah, they'll end here unless if there is someone who can speak for you. So the World Program of Action for Youth for 2000 and beyond touched upon the importance of youth participation in decision making, but did not offer concrete interventions at the time. The importance of youth participation in decision making. It is necessary everywhere these days. We need the youth to be there. Otherwise, the youth end up being discriminated. Kuponderezedwa, whether in schools, offices, like now they will say if you want to get a loan you need collateral. So for someone who has just graduated, where are you going to get this collateral for you to get enough capital if you want to get a loan? So maybe if we have some young people to represent us, to present our issues, maybe they can come up with another way of helping young people. Because like mostly young people don't have investment. They'll say they need collateral, maybe a piece of land, but you don't have land. As a result, we still struggle to find some Darwin theory. So people under the age of 35 are rarely found in formal political leadership positions under the age of 35. The so-called young energetic people. However, they are not found in such political leadership positions. In a third of countries, eligibility for the national parliament starts at 25 years or higher, and it is a common practice to refer to politicians as young if they are below 35 to 40 years of age. Like, for example, Chirima, so used to say it's a young man, to represent us, whatever. So sometimes, of course, when you talk of young people, you find it does not really reflect the definitions that we discussed. For others who say 35 to 40 is a young person. Even if Dr. Our president right now, we say he's at least young when you compare with other leaders. We leave it there. So youth is not represented adequately in formal political institutions and processes, such as politics, political parties, elections, and public administrations. When we look at politics or political issues, you find usually they are very old people. And sometimes you wonder, what decisions can these people make? We know they have experience, yes? But you know, as you are getting older, even the thinking capacity, the memory goes down. That's why we need young people. But in most cases, in parliament, you find, that's why we find people sleeping in parliament. So the situation is even difficult for both young women as well, for young women as well as women at mid-level and decision-making leadership positions. It becomes worse for women and young women because even the representation of women in politics is already low. In order to respond to the needs of young people and to guarantee that their basic human rights are recognized and reinforced, young people's active and meaningful participation in their societies and in democratic practices and processes is of crucial importance. Participation of young people is very crucial. Participating in different positions, in the different decision-making positions. We need to be in those positions. Somehow, meaningful youth participation and leadership require that young people and youth people-led organizations have opportunities, capacities, and benefit from an enabling environment and relevant evidence based on programs and policies at all levels. Meaningful youth participation and leadership require young people and youth-led organizations to have opportunities, capacities, and benefit from an enabling environment that enables these young people to take part, to participate in these different positions. So in a survey conducted by UN, that was August 2012, a majority of 13,000 respondents expressed their voices from 186 countries and highlighted that the main challenges for youth were limited opportunities for effective participation in decision-making processes. So, according to that survey conducted by UN, the main challenge that was raised was lack of participation of the youth, like limited opportunities for the youth to take part in decision-making processes. So with limited opportunities and exposure to meaningfully participate in decision-making processes, young people feel excluded and marginalized in their societies and communities. Feel marginalized and excluded. And the need for participatory structures and greater trust between youth and institutions and for greater capacity development were also stressed. Need for participatory structures, putting in structures so that young people can also participate. And efforts should also be made to focus on the most vulnerable of young people, including via specific actions targeting young women. Focus should also go to vulnerable young people, more especially vulnerable young women. So that's why we always say sometimes when we are trying to implement some programs or projects, you are implementing a project that targets young people or young women. But maybe from planning or decision-making stage, they are not involved. So as a result, you realize like their issues or their problems or their needs and interests are not met. They are not met. You do not meet their needs because they are not. So it is a very common practice like for marginalized people, for vulnerable people, they continue to be neglected. So it requires someone who is up there to speak for them.
Voiceless.
Mm. So effective and meaningful youth political participation has one of the three attributes. Consultative can entail youth-led participation and also involve youth collaborative participation, where young people can effectively take part in regular political decision-making processes. Meaningful youth political participation. It requires to be consultative. The youth should be consulted. Youth-led participation, where young people can have direct impact on decision making within their societies. And also involving youth collaborative participation. So that's how we can successfully help in youth development if they are involved in decision making processes. So maybe with time we'll get motivated to take up some leadership political positions to influence decision making processes. So let's look at the last aspect, socio-economic perspective. Economic perspective of young people in the society. How do the society look at young people in terms of socio-economic aspect? Maya? Oh, hustlers? Are we really hustlers? Kuhasula? Changing of? Hustling. Yeah, so the socio-economic perspective of youth in society is shaped by a range of factors. Socio-economic perspective of young people is shaped by the issue of education, employment opportunities, access to resources, and social mobility. Access to education. We need to have access to education, to have employment opportunities, access to resources. You know, it's like when it comes to issues of having access to resources, it's very problematic for the youth to have access to resources. It's not easy to have access to resources. Even the loans for youth to have access, it's not easy. As I say, the issue of collateral, they'll be asking you for a collateral. Where are you going to get that collateral? Maybe you want to get a loan to start your own business. You need education. What if you are lacking school fees? So it's very tricky. So the planning and implementation of development programs and projects depend greatly on socially activated human resources. Implementation of development programs and projects depends greatly on socially activated human resource. We are a human resource. So the chronic deficiency of many developed countries in achieving any success in their programs can be attributed to many reasons. However, the pivotal reason is primarily the culture of the society regarding the non-moral view towards the younger generation. Non-moral view towards the younger generation. And this reflects through excluding young people from responsibilities and refrain their ambitions for the future. Most young people, we are excluded from different responsibilities. We are very excluded. At our age, in most cases, when we are in our societies, all they think is our behavior, bad behavior. Young people, they have bad behavior, as if we have nothing to contribute in our society. But we have a lot of things, including we are a human resource. As we said, youth are innovators. If we talk of innovations, it's the youth to come up with the innovations. So the concept of development should be focused on allowing young people to have opportunity to gain and apply knowledge, and not only having the ability to operate and manage projects, to opportunity to gain and apply knowledge. We should be always should be given an opportunity to apply our knowledge. Sometimes we have the knowledge, but it's just wasted because the opportunity for us to apply our skills, to apply our knowledge is not there. So what do? We just be at home watching TVs, watching Marian za Nigeria ziji. So so here is an overview of how these factors influence young people's experience. The issue of access to education. Education is a key determinant for socio-economic status. That's why everyone wants to be enrolled in school. It is a determinant of socio-economic status for young people. And you know, when you have a quality education, you can easily get employed. You can easily get employment opportunities if you are educated. But however, there are some challenges even for the youth. You know, some people, they just end at primary school level. They don't have access to fees. They cannot proceed with their education. Some people, maybe after being left out from public universities, they don't have a chance to further pursue their education. So, which is very challenging for the youth. As the global economy evolves, there is an increasing emphasis on acquiring new skills, especially technology and digital literacy. Skill development is also necessary. We need skills because these skills can help us. Maybe if we meet some problems in life, we can easily deal with life challenges, life stresses, life issues if we have skills. Young people who lack access to education and training may face challenges in securing well-paying jobs. If you don't have access to education, what happens? Securing a job is not easy. Unless if we are talking of these manual type of jobs. Yeah. Mango tandizira bena bali boss. Genofita. Youth unemployment. As we know now, the youth unemployment rate is very high. A lot of youth are just staying. No capital, no skills. You don't know why you are learning. Why did you enroll? You don't know. Peer pressure. Because everyone was enrolling, you wanted to enroll as well. Oh my goodness. The issue of economic recession, lack of job opportunities, and mismatches between education and job markets exacerbate the issue of economic recession, leading to financial instability and frustration among young people. Income disparities. Economic inequality disproportionately affects young people, particularly those from marginalized communities. Think about someone who is in the rural area and marginalized people, in short, I can say. They did not go far with education. What do? Yeah, that's the only thing they can do. And they'll start farming. And if you talk of farming, we're not talking of farming as business, but for food, just for consumption. And they will harvest very little, and they want to sell the part of it just to buy soap, sugar, whatever. Yeah, in most cases, they don't buy relish. Amapita kudimba. Akapita town ku trading center, they have to buy some bonya, soya, ukapikidwa mazira, makanga tantaka kudya nyama. Social mobility, for many young people, upward social mobility is becoming increasingly difficult to achieve. Economic policies, access to capital, and social networks all play a role in determining whether young people can improve their socio-economic standing. Like moving upward economically is becoming a very big issue. Because even if you have a well-designed plan, but if you don't have access to resources, it becomes so hard to execute that plan. And yeah, people have business plans, but You might have a very convincing business plan, but where do you go with it and who is going to fund it? Youth entrepreneurship, youth entrepreneurship is very important, more especially with the issue of limited jobs right now. It's very necessary because it's a way that the youth will create their own job opportunities. At the same time, they can employ fellow youth. We've seen so many people, entrepreneurs, employing fellow youth. You find maybe they employ 10, 20 people. So if we have a lot of entrepreneurs, it means a lot of people can also be employed because it helps to reduce the unemployment rate. Social exclusion. Many young people face social exclusion based on race, gender, disability, socioeconomic background. Having no chance, being excluded just because maybe you are coming from a poor background. And also this exclusion can limit their access to resources and opportunities. Where do you access the resources and opportunities if the youth are not involved in different activities? So the issue of globalization, while globalization offers opportunities for youth to connect and collaborate across borders, it also brings challenges such as increased competition for jobs and the outsourcing of labor to lower cost regions. Labor competition. I'm sure the South Africa is facing this challenge. We have a lot of people moving from here. So it lowers the job opportunity, the issue of globalization, because you can go to other countries, you can work there. We also have a lot of people working in different countries, UK, America, China. So for us, anyway, it's a plus because they, through remittances, they hope to bring in forex. But for those countries, even for us, sometimes I think it will be complaining if people from other countries are taking our jobs. Sometimes people will be like, why is it that in most cases you find higher positions occupied maybe by people, maybe which are not even Malawians? It happens. But is it still going on up to now? Mukumunena twambe chifukwa chani? Twamba kunena. Yeah. So young people can be viewed from different perspectives, as we've said, cultural perspective, socio-economic, and political perspective. Any question or comment so far? No. I think you can pause. You can pause. My discussion in our